James Newell Osterberg was born in Muskegon, Michigan on April 1947, the son of Louella and James Newell Osterberg Sr., an English teacher and baseball coach at Fordson High School in Dearborn, Michigan. He is of English, German and Irish descent on his father's side, and Danish and Norwegian ancestry on his mother's side. His father was adopted by a Swedish American nurse surnamed Osterberg. The family lived in a trailer park in Ypsilanti, Michigan. Ron Asheton later described him as having been a conventional teenager. He hung out with the popular kids that wore chinos, cashmere sweaters and penny loafers. Iggy didn't smoke cigarettes, didn't get high and didn't drink. Osterberg began to play drums in the 5th grade, first starting with rubber pads glued to plywood before his parents bought him a drum set. Osterberg began his music career as a drummer in various high school bands in Ann Arbor, Michigan, including the Iguanas, who covered several records such as Bo Diddley's Mona in 1965. He then began exploring local blues-style bands such as the Prime Movers, which he joined at 18 years old. The Prime Movers gave him the nickname Iggy for having played in the Iguanas. According to biographer Jim Ambrose, the 2 years he spent in the band made him aware of art, politics and experimentation. The seeds of Pop's stage persona were sown when he saw the Doors perform in 1967 at the University of Michigan and was amazed by the stage antics and antagonism displayed by singer Jim Morrison. Morrison's extreme behavior while performing in a popular band inspired the young Pop to push the boundaries of stage performance. In addition to Jim Morrison and the Doors' influence on the band, Pop also attributes the Stooges getting jump-started after seeing an all-girls rock band from Princeton, New Jersey called The Untouchable. In 1968, 1 year after their live debut and now dubbed the Psychedelic Stooges, the band signed with Elektra Records, again following in the footsteps of the Doors, who were Elektra's biggest act at the time. Pop himself told the story in the 2016 Jim Jarmusch documentary film about the Stooges' Gimme Danger. The Stooges' first album, The Stooges, was produced by John Cale in New York in 1969. Both it and the follow-up, Funhouse, produced by Don Gallucci in Los Angeles in 1970, sold poorly. Though the release of Funhouse did not receive the recognition expected, it was later ranked number 191 in Rolling Stone's 500 Greatest Albums of All Time in 2003. Shortly after the release of Funhouse, the group disbanded because of Pop's worsening heroin addiction. In 1971, without a record deal, the Stooges kept performing in small clubs with a 5-piece lineup that included both Ron Asheton and James Williamson on guitars and Jimmy Recca on bass, Pop having fired Dave Alexander the previous year when he turned up for a gig unable to play because of his chronic alcoholism. That year, Pop and David Bowie met at Max's Kansas City, a nightclub and restaurant in New York City. Pop's career received a boost from his relationship with Bowie when Bowie decided in 1972 to produce an album with him in England. With Williamson signed on as guitarist, the search began for a rhythm section. However, since neither Pop nor Williamson were satisfied with any players in England, they decided to reunite the Stooges. Ron Asheton grudgingly moved from guitar to bass. The recording sessions produced the rock landmark Raw Power. After its release, Scott Thurston was added to the band on keyboards or electric piano, and Bowie continued his support, but Pop's drug problem persisted. The Stooges' last show in 1974 ended in a fight between the band and a group of bikers. Documented on the album Metallic, drug abuse stalled Pop's career again for several years. After the Stooges' second breakup, Pop made recordings with James Williamson, but these were not released until 1977. Pop was unable to control his drug use and checked himself into a mental institution, the UCLA Neuropsychiatric Institute, to try to clean up. Bowie was one of his few visitors, continuing to support his friend and collaborator. In 1976, Bowie took Pop as his companion on the Station to Station tour. This was Pop's first exposure to large-scale professional touring, and he was impressed particularly with Bowie's work ethic. Following a March 1976 show, Bowie and Pop were arrested together for marijuana possession in Rochester, New York, although charges were later dropped. In 1977, Pop signed with RCA Records. Bowie helped write and produce The Idiot and Lust for Life, Pop's two most acclaimed albums as a solo artist, the latter featuring one of his best-known songs, The Passenger. Lust for Life featured another team of brothers Hunt and Tony Fox Sales. Among the songs Bowie and Pop wrote together were China Girl, Tonight and Sister Midnight, all of which Bowie performed on his own albums later. Bowie also played keyboards in Pop's live performances, some of which are featured on the album TVI Live in 1978. In return, Pop contributed backing vocals on Bowie's Low. Pop's 2003 album Skull Ring featured collaborators Sum 41, Green Day, Peaches and the Trolls, as well as Ron and Scott Asheton, reuniting the three surviving founding members of the Stooges for the first time since 1974. Pop made a guest appearance on Peaches' song Kick It as well as the video. Also in 2003, his first full-length biography was published. Gimme Danger, the story of Iggy Pop, was written by Jim Ambrose. Pop did not collaborate on the biography or publicly endorse it. Having enjoyed working with the Ashetons on Skull Ring, Pop reformed the Stooges with bassist Mike Watt filling in for the late Dave Alexander and Funhouse saxophonist Steve Mackay rejoining the lineup. They have toured regularly since 2004. That year Pop opened Madonna's Reinvention World Tour in Dublin. Pop and the Stooges played the Glastonbury Festival in June 2007. Their set included material from the 2007 album The Weirdness and classics such as No Fun and I Wanna Be Your Dog. Pop also caused controversy in June 2007 when he was interviewed on the BBC's coverage of the Glastonbury Festival. He used the phrase "packy shop," apparently unaware of its racist connotations, prompting 3 complaints and an apology from the BBC. On December 2009, it was announced that the Stooges would be inducted into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame on March 2010. Pop had about 2 hours of a strong emotional reaction to the news.